Hello, everybody. My name is Adam Thorne, and welcome to the Australian Aviation Podcast. Now, those of you that watched this on YouTube last week in the last episode will remember that we got a fantastic new shelving unit, which really changed the studio. That, of course, replaced the TV, which previously reflected the light. It's gone. It is gone. We got very excited about it last week.
Looking at the floor, I do see a puddle of ominous goo.
Ominous goo.
Which does suggest a cause for the sudden disappearance of the shelving unit.
Could you please elaborate, Jake?
I think, Adam, that the Dread Enoch may have taken our shelving unit.
So the Dread Enoch previously would feast on human beings, or at least drag them away to his lair. But in the last 2 weeks, he's taken a shelving. When I say he, we don't know of what gender or creature this is. The Dread Enoch has taken a shelving unit. The Dread Enoch has taken a large widescreen TV. It looks like maybe the Dread Enoch's just doing a little bit of home interior design.
He's redecorating it.
Exactly.
He's redecorating the vents.
Even monstrous creatures of the night just want somewhere nice to live, I think.
That explains the vent warming party invitation that dropped onto my desk this morning. Again, covered in miscellaneous goo.
Yeah. Anyway, we have been promised that the shelving unit, the mythical shelving unit, will, I say return, probably Jordan the Great will buy a new shelving unit. So if you do have any trinkets, merchandise, plane tickets, model planes, anything
full-sized planes?
No, we'll never fit a full-size plane in this.
Not with that attitude, Adam?
No. I mean, you can, if you want to send us a full-size plane, we'll take it. It'll be good. I wouldn't mind starting my own kind of airline. But just anything you do want to send us, please let us know, media@australianaviation.com.au. If you send us something to display on our next shelving unit, we will obviously give you a shout out in the podcast.
You think you'd be able to get an AOC, Adam?
Given I can't drive a car, I find that hugely unlikely.
Well, look, that's why you hire pilots to fly whatever this plane is for you.
Yeah, that's true.
You could be the next Bonza.
Yeah, no, maybe.
Thornza. Yeah.
Thornza. But hopefully I wouldn't go bust. Right, Jake, have we got any more shout-outs?
Yeah, so we got an unusual email in our inbox this morning. Apparently there is an aviation-themed DJ.
Hello, this sounds great.
At large in Sydney. Barry Seppings, also known as Flyboy Baz.
Flyboy Baz.
Flyboy Baz.
Sounds like a right troublemaker, this guy.
It's apparently he does he's looking to do air shows, air museums, corporate events in the aviation sector. He's got we've got a photo here of presumably Flyboy Baz in his pilot's outfit, sipping some manner of alcoholic beverage. I'm not an alcoholic beverageologist.
No.
He says, Flyboy Baz brings a first-class vibe to any lounge, bar, club, or party. His signature mix of classic and remixed funk, soul, disco, and house has been known to ignite a dance floor faster than an F-16 on afterburners.
Whoa!
That's pretty fast, Adam.
He's basically as witty as you, but he can also DJ. So I'm struggling to see the point of having you around now. I would say I'm on his website now. I don't know why we're giving him all this free publicity. It's flyboybaz.com. It goes here on live schedule, and it takes you to one of those pages that says your connection is not private. So it doesn't look like he's got many gigs up and going. I would say get in touch with him if you are after a flying-related DJ.
I guess that's the man to call.
That is the man to call. Other shout-outs. We obviously spoke previously about Jordan the Great. Jordan the Great, for those of you who aren't aware, is the person that got this round table, previously installed the shelving unit before it was taken up into the vents. Jordan has been working, which is essentially our prime goal here at Australian Aviation, which is to make Jake Nelson a superstar. So what we're going to do is...
I'm already a superstar.
Well, yes, you are. But what you need to get you going viral on social media, which is where all the kids and the Gen Z people are spending...
with their tickety talks and their instant grams.
Yeah, exactly. So at the moment we're on YouTube, but we're trying to do more stuff on like Instagram and eventually like TikTok and your favorite one, X.
That's Twitter to you.
Right. So basically what Jordan has done is he's taken the kind of the full YouTube videos that we do of our podcast, and he's created these like shorts. So like shortened versions. When you say something particularly witty, for instance, and he's cut them up, what he's done is he's like done it so it fits into the rectangle of your phone. And then he's done it so that as you talk, the transcription comes up. And every time you say a word, it flashes red. And he's even like cut out little illustrations and diagrams and pictures that can kind of appear on there, which is the kind of the stuff that, if you're a person, procrastinating on Instagram or whatever, that really brings it to life. So we're going to try and do more of these as we build your profile up.
I've discovered watching those videos that I say more often than I thought I did.
Just, you had that last week, but we've got to think now that you're going to become a broadcast star, so you've got to cut those things off. Maybe we can get you some lessons to tidy up, take those kind of things out. Potentially. Anyway, basically, if you go on our Instagram, I don't know what it's called, but just tap it into Google or tap it into Instagram. I think it's Australian Aviation HQ, but if you tap it in the search thing, it will come up. And obviously, we're on YouTube.
It's Ost Aviation HQ.
Ost Aviation HQ. Thank you very much for that, Jake. Yeah, go on there and check them out and see Jordan's very hard work. We've got any other shout-outs at all, Jake?
Yeah, just a quick congratulations to Analytic Flying. It's they're an aviation analyst blog. They're on Twitter. They're on a couple of places, but they've recorded a whole year of they've been analysing flying for a whole year in Australia. They're sort of anonymous, but they seem to know what they're talking about.
There's graphs and charts, I believe.
There's graphs and charts. We haven't always seen eye to eye with analytic flying, but we respect the work that they do, and congratulations to them for being around for a whole year.
Very, very, very diplomatically put and delicately put. No, I concur with those thoughts. Right, let's steam into the news. Quiet-ish week for us here, but I'm sure we'll find something to talk about. Jake, what are we starting with?
Well, why don't we start with Bitra data, Adam?
Oh, bloody love a bit of Bitra data.
We love Bitra data around here. So the Bitra data came out for August. Just the other week.
So this is basically, for those of you who aren't aware, Bitra data is released by the Department of Transport, and this tells you who's the best in terms of on-time performance. So basically, who's the most reliable airline. Sorry, I interrupted you there, Jake. Go on.
Yeah, basically, on-time reliability. They do like airfares, they do, domestic activity, they do international activity, all sorts of things. So the Bitra data, it came out for August. And that was just last week that came out. And once again, we've had a bit of a bun fight between Qantas and Virgin over who was and was not the most reliable airline for the month. So Virgin says that it bested Qantas individually. So it's basically come out and said, we were better. Virgin Australia was better than Qantas specifically. That's not counting QantasLink, not counting, Jetstar. Because normally what Bitra does is they have, all Virgin designated flights, so all VA flights, which is Virgin Australia and Virgin Australia Regional, and they have all QF flights, which is Qantas and QantasLink. And then they have breakouts for individual entities, so Virgin Australia, VARA, QantasLink. Now, Virgin has said, and this is for the mainline services, that 70.1% of mainline Virgin's services took off on time, compared to 68% for Qantas. 72.3 that should be arrived on time. 72.3 departed on time, compared to 70.5% for Qantas, and 1.3% of Virgin flights were cancelled, compared to 4% for Qantas.
4% is pretty high.
It is pretty high, but there is a twist in the tail, as it were, because what Qantas is saying is that counting all QF services together, so Qantas and QantasLink combined, provides a more accurate picture.
But better picture.
A better picture of Qantas's reliability compared to Virgin, because around 60% of QF designated domestic services are operated by QantasLink. Now, this includes routes where QantasLink has the majority of services, so Sydney to Canberra, Melbourne to Canberra, routes where QantasLink competes with Virgin on its own as well, and Qantas does not do mainline services such as Melbourne to Hobart and Brisbane to Canberra. So basically what Qantas is saying is that if you take Qantas and QantasLink together, that is a better look at the reliability than it would if you broke out Qantas and QantasLink separately. And when you look at Qantas and QantasLink combined, compared to Virgin Australia and VARA combined, there's a bit of a different picture. VA plus VARA, so all VA services, 69.9% on-time arrivals, 71.9% on-time departures, 1.3% cancellations. Compare this to QF services, 73.2% on-time arrivals, 74.7% on-time departures, 3.3% cancellations.
Now, call me cynical, but basically what's happening here is they're saying, the most accurate way of looking at this data happens to be the way that shows us winning. So, I mean, you call me a little bit cynical here, but they've said, actually, this is how you should look at it. Have they ever told us the other way around? Have they gone, actually, stop right a minute?
No, but Rex did. Yeah. Rex did, because Rex, when it was running domestic jet services, we'd report on Rex as a whole, which combined its Saabs and its 737-800s, and Rex would often get in touch with us to say, well, yes, sure, but if you look at our domestic jet services individually, they are more reliable than Qantas, Virgin, Jetstar, what have you. So,
and this is all still below the long-term average, isn't it?
They're all still below the long-term average. But by the way, Virgin's VA designated services were dragged down by Virgin Australia Regional, and with QantasLink coming out pretty well ahead. So QantasLink by itself, 76.6% on-time arrivals, 77.4% on-time departures, 2.8% cancellations. Virgin Australia Regional, 60% on-time arrivals, 56.2% on-time departures, and 1.3% cancellations. So regionally, QantasLink looks a lot better than Virgin. And in fact, QantasLink, comes out on basically on top of all of them.
Yes, I mean, the problem is we've discussed before, you can argue numbers any way you want, and as per every time we've done this, every airline effectively is claiming victory. There's only one way to sort that out, and that is, of course, the crowning of the Jake Nelson Airline of the Month, the very prestigious prize. And if you are...
Name pending.
If you are an airline CEO and you want to use the Jake Nelson Airline of the Month, a kind of logo or whatever on your billboard ads or on your TV ads, absolutely go for it.
Do we have a logo?
We can get one made up.
Should probably get a logo.
We'll get somebody on that. You can use it. Now, kind of drum roll. Look, Jake, who is your airline of the month?
Honourable mention to Virgin Australia for lowest cancellations, 1.3% cancellations, pretty good. But domestic airline of the month, QantasLink.
QantasLink, congratulations to QantasLink. All your hard work, I know, is now been worth it. Okay, welcome back. So we just crowned the Jake Nelson Airline of the Month. What's the next news story we're going to talk about, Jake?
Well, so on the subject of Qantas, and we didn't get to Jetstar's figures, but they were fairly decent, by the way. 72.1% on-time arrivals, 70.3% on-time departures, 1.7% cancellations, if you were wondering.
Stickler for accuracy, aren't you? Or a stickler, for completeness.
Exactly. So we spoke a little while ago when I think Bridget McKenzie floated the idea. Senator Bridget McKenzie, the opposition transport spokesperson, she floated the idea that the government should have the power to force Qantas to sell off Jetstar in order to boost competition. Now, as a poll came out in the Australian Financial Review this week, Freshwater poll surveyed 1,061 voters. 48% of these voters said that Qantas and Jetstar should be broken up in order to, quote, in order to increase competition between airlines. 24% were against, 29% not sure. The poll found 80% of people believed airfares were too expensive and the government needs to do more to ensure consumers are getting a fair price. 76% said that there should be more competition in the aviation sector. Now, there is a silver lining here for Qantas, if only a thin one. Qantas is trusted narrowly over other non-Australian airlines, he says in air quotes that the people listening on Spotify can't hear, by 43% to 39%.
The problem with this, and I think this is a good story, that's why we ran it. But to an extent, these surveys, they're slightly ridiculous because what they've done is they've said to the 1,000 people, should they break up Qantas and Jetstar in order to increase competition between airlines? Everyone's going to say yes to that. Everyone will go, of course we want more competition.
Well, I mean,
competition's a good thing.
Well, more than a little more over half of people did not say that. You know, again, 24% said no, 29% said I'm not sure.
Yeah.
So there's still a bit of uncertainty there. Like, yes, almost half of the people surveyed said yes, Qantas and Jetstar should be broken up, but that's still, you know, a little less than half of the people who did not say that.
What it has shown is that people think that airfares are too high and that competition is the way to improve it. I think that, you think that. I think everybody would agree with that. The problem is it's all very well and good saying this. It's how do you do it? Because as we've discussed previously, you know, a Qantas and Jetstar can't necessarily just be chopped in half because Jetstar relies on the mothership in order to fulfill a lot of its functions. They are effectively one airline. They might brand up some of the aircraft different. They are basically one airline, right? So it's not necessarily as simple as just pulling half of them away. And then again, I don't even know how that would work. Surely that even if the government was somehow able to do this, Qantas would fight tooth and nail to stop them. So that's the issue there. And I think really there needs to be a discussion about what we can actually do as a country to encourage a new player to come in. At the moment, it's almost impossible for a third player to come in. We saw both Rex and Bonza struggle to get slots at Sydney Airport, allegedly because Sydney Airport said the organisation that oversees slots says that wasn't necessarily the case. But basically, Qantas, Rex and Bonza said it was very hard for them to get a foothold in. We've almost never had a third major domestic airline in Australia succeed. So we need to think more in a country about what we're actually going to do to introduce real competition.
Well, again, one of the problems that both Rex and Bonza had was getting planes. And I think it would be particularly hard for any sort of major domestic airline to any major third player to really succeed in Australia when there are so few planes to go around. You know, back during we have to remember Rex got its initial 737s back during COVID when you couldn't give the things away. But now, that everybody wants planes. The leases are too high. Boeing is still being squeezed on its supply chain and all of the troubles it's been having, which I think we're going to get to later. Airbus is seeing a high demand. The only real chance you've got to get planes is to try and find one used or, go to smaller regional jets like Embraer.
And the problem with this is, let's just say Qantas will in 10 years' time or progressively over the next 10 years have a lot of 737s going spare because they are switching to a predominantly Airbus fleet. But the older 737s, the NGs, the next generations, they're nowhere near as fuel efficient as that next generation of Boeing and Airbus aircraft. And so it's going to be very hard to compete against an airline when they're making sort of they're spending 10 or 20%, whatever it is, less on fuel per flight. So actually getting old aircraft is going to cost you a lot more money. So you have to get new aircraft, like you say. They are very, very hard to come by. I don't know how we fix this problem. I almost think the rot in the domestic industry set in decades ago, and it's going to be incredibly hard to untangle ourselves from it. I do not in any way agree with the idea that our population is too small or that we're too, it's too dispersed. I think this is like a very old-fashioned idea. I see no reason in the world why, in theory, there can't be more competition. And competition is the only way to get airfares down. Now, it's not the most innovative point I'm going to make now, but it's extraordinary how cheap it is, say, to fly from London to Europe. You know, it's so cheap to fly from a London airport, maybe one of the ones slightly further out of a capital, to fly to Mallorca, to fly to Ibiza, to fly to Greece. You know, it's cheap. It's so cheap. It's considerably cheaper than flying from Sydney to Melbourne. That's bonkers. That's absolutely bonkers. Now, I know it's not necessarily, it's a much larger market, but the potential is there for these airfares to go down because at the moment they are comparatively extraordinarily high. And the problem for this is it's all very well and good if you work for a company and your company's willing to pay for your flight for your work trip. But if you don't, then suddenly this is a huge handbrake on the Australian economy. So I think it's incredibly important that we have some kind of plan about how we fix this.
Yeah, exactly. And, you know, any new player would have to be someone with deep pockets, you know, someone who can maybe eat losses for a while in a way that 777 partners with Bonza was not willing to do, and Rex, it seemed, was not able to do with its 737-800s. You'd need someone with deep pockets and, you know, a stable of planes that it can spare.
But then the problem is that you, like you say, you're going to lose money.
Or the willingness to, you know, buy up a bunch of Qantas's old planes as it sort of cycles them out and you know, replaces them with the A321s.
You'd have to have a real love of Australia to do this because there are easier ways to make a living. That's the problem.
Well, you know, it's kind of paradoxical that the Golden Triangle, Sydney, Melbourne, Brisbane, some of the most lucrative routes in the world. Like, you know, it real money spinner, but it's a money spinner for the people who are already there. You know, for Qantas, Jetstar, Virgin. And, you know, Qantas, Jetstar in particular, if you try to muscle in on the Golden Triangle, Qantas will be wanting to squeeze you out. And, you know, I think, again, Bonza had the right idea by trying to fly to underserved destinations and find new markets. Because there's again, shout out to Wendover Productions, brilliant YouTuber. He's made the point, and this was talking about long range, you know, long haul, low cost carriers. But what he was saying was that the low-cost carriers, or the new carriers that have succeeded in this, the low-cost carriers in the ultra-long-haul market have been the ones that have tried to find new markets and serve those rather than trying to, you know, crowd in on the same markets on the same routes that everybody else is already serving. So I think Bonza, and we saw that, you know, Bonza was seeing some success with its model of flying to destinations that nobody thought to fly to. Its planes were too big for some of those routes, and, you know, it did not have enough planes, and, you know, it was being funded by people with perhaps, again, not its best interests at heart. But we saw that the Bonza model was working a bit.
The problem is that if the Bonza model had have worked, so let's just say they had a backer that was willing to stick with it for longer, that they had maybe smaller aircraft, there was nothing but stopping Bonza building their kind of network of these lesser served routes and then having a base to take on Qantas and Virgin in the future once you've got established. That's almost like
Sydney to Avalon would have been easier than you know, Sydney to Melbourne, or, you know, Western Sydney to Avalon if it had survived into 2026. Because, you know, Avalon is, you know, Avalon's basically got only one airline serving it now, and that's Jetstar. So, you know, Avalon, you know, the CEO of Avalon earlier this year was, when we interviewed him, he said, you know, we've got space. We've got so much space. Come in and fill your boots. You know, this is a great place for a low-cost carrier. And, you know, Western Sydney Airport is going to be 24 hours. It's going to be a lot more capacity than Sydney Airport. And so, you know, and Western Sydney also a good market for low-cost carriers. You know, just based on you know, demographically and you know, the socioeconomic sort of factors. Western Sydney, you know, people would appreciate a low cost carrier coming in. So Western Sydney to Avalon might have been, you know, something that they would have been able to have a go at. You know, flying out of Western Sydney to other destinations. That would give you access to the Sydney basin without having to deal with the headaches at Sydney Airport. So maybe when Western Sydney opens, we might see someone else have a go. I don't know what this koala outfit is doing.
We've never really spoken properly about koala.
We've spoken about him a couple of times, once or twice, but it's what I still don't know what their game plan is.
They've been, we did speak about it on a podcast like a month or so ago, and I think I said if you are involved with koala and you want to come on the podcast, by all means put yourself forward. We'd love to have you.
But there's people making the case for the sort of foreign, the sort of rules about foreign airlines competing in the domestic market. There's people saying maybe those should be relaxed. Maybe we should be allowing more international airlines to come in and serve domestic routes. I don't know how popular that would be as a selling point. On the one hand, it drives down airfares, but on the other hand, there's the whole we don't want foreigners muscling in on our aviation market angle that people might take, but it's a lever that the government could maybe consider pulling, because right now you do have airlines such as Qatar, for example, doing this thing where they will fly into Melbourne, for example, and then continue on from Melbourne to Adelaide, with the sort of assumption that what they really want is Melbourne, but they've got to go to Adelaide in order to get those slots into Melbourne, because Adelaide has to be the final destination because of these bilateral service agreements. But you can't book a flight on Qatar Airways from Melbourne to Adelaide. That's not allowed. If you want to fly Qatar Airways to Adelaide, you'd better be flying from Doha, which is, not practical.
No, but you made a really, really interesting point there that I'd actually not considered before, which is that if we're saying we're going to have Western Sydney opening in a couple of years and then just expanding, suddenly we have capacity, we have slots going, and those slots are only going to keep increasing as the aircraft as the airport gets bigger. We've also got Avalon, which is now ripe for expansion. Basically, it's got slots going spare, and also weren't we talking a couple of months ago about Avalon? We're suggesting that they could have a rail link if they were to make a few kind of amendments.
Yeah.
So suddenly we look at this kind of golden triangle of Sydney, Melbourne, Brisbane. We've now got two new players, or two players that could be potentially expanded. That does open a window to.
And if you want to get into Brisbane, Sunshine Coast, Toowoomba, Gold Coast are all near Brisbane.
Yeah, exactly. And also, I think that when we talk about, say, Sydney, the original Kingston Smith Sydney Airport,
and Newcastle as well.
Yeah, because also I think timing-wise, if you fly into Avalon, the reality is your bag's going to get spat out a lot quicker. There's a lot less things to go wrong. It's probably going to be a lot more reliable. So say you go to Avalon and you're able to get out the airport quickly, and then you've got quick transport into Melbourne. Yes, maybe driving from Avalon to Melbourne Melbourne City Centre takes an hour. But if you speed up all the other things, then in reality, the difference is probably only about half an hour or so, particularly if they have better public transport. And then you know what? If you're going to save yourself a ton of money, who cares?
Yeah.
It doesn't really make a difference. Same thing with Western Sydney Airport. Yes, obviously, there is the argument that a lot of people will be from Western Sydney anyway. But also, if the difference time-wise is 10 minutes, 20 minutes compared to Sydney Airport, who cares?
And
no
also,
one cares.
And also, the thing with Western Sydney Airport is that, like, Sydney's been pursuing this whole 3 cities plan, which is like you got the Eastern Harbour City with the CBD, around the proper CBD. You've got this Central River City with Parramatta as the CBD, and then you've got the Western Parkland City with Bradfield Aerotropolis as the CBD. So these businesses. You might find it more convenient to fly into Western Sydney if the place you're going to is Bradfield Aerotropolis or Parramatta.
So what we've kind of concluded on here, that the secret to saving domestic aviation is more airports, better airports. That's what we need.
Well, monopoly airports have been a talking point for a while. It's good that we are getting more airports. By the way, just as an aside, another airline that is doing this, another foreign airline that's doing this, pseudo-domestic thing is Vietjet. Vietjet is flying from Ho Chi Minh City, Perth, Adelaide, then Adelaide, Perth, Ho Chi Minh. But again, you can't fly from Adelaide to Perth on Ho Chi Minh on Vietjet. You have to continue on to Ho Chi Minh. Vietjet cannot sell you a ticket.
It's absurd because they're effectively finding a kind of effectively kind of like a loophole in the rules almost, which is absurd.
Yeah,
which is completely absurd.
Yeah, well, it's something that we talked about last year, I think, when this whole kerfuffle about Qatar Airways was at its peak. This whole this accusation that they were essentially flying nearly empty planes from Melbourne to Adelaide, just to get into Adelaide. Just to get into Melbourne, or a few years back, flying Doha, Sydney, Canberra, mainly to get into Sydney, because you can buy a plane ticket from Doha to Sydney on the route to Canberra, or, Doha to Melbourne on the route to Adelaide, and just get off before it continues on to Adelaide. That's the thing you can do. I think we've spoken about this one too long. Yeah,
we have. That's what I was thinking about. We're just talking nonsense now. Right, let's go for one more break.
When have we stopped talking nonsense?
Never. It's just drivel. But don't say that out loud, because we're doing quite well in terms of
I think you just did.
Okay, welcome back. So, what are we talking about next, Drake?
We should probably talk about Boeing.
Oh.
I don't think Boeing wants us to talk about Boeing. I don't think Boeing wants itself to talk about Boeing. We should probably talk about Boeing. The new CEO of Boeing, Kelly Ortberg, has come in and he's made his first big personnel change at the top.
Dear.
He has ousted the CEO of Boeing's Defense and Space Division. So Ted Colbert III, who has been in the role since 2022.
Great name, by the way.
Fantastic name. Yeah. But he has been he is leaving the position. He has been temporarily replaced by Steve Parker, who is the Chief Operating Officer of that division, while Boeing looks for his replacement. And this comes amid all of the kerfuffle and to-do about the Starliner, which you have covered a fair bit.
I mean, firstly, Ted Colbert III, he just looks so cool. He's got like the really thick Ray-Bans on, really sharp suit. He looks great.
Did you meet him at Avalon? He was at Avalon last year.
I didn't meet him in person. He does look cool, though. If it were me, and I were the new CEO of the wider Boeing Group, I'd have kept him in place. But anyway. But I feel I think this is very unfortunate for him, because almost certainly this has come through the horrendous bad publicity that Boeing has got for what happened with the Starliner spacecraft. So for those of you, you need a little bit of refreshing. The point of the Starliner spacecraft is effectively to ferry astronauts from Earth to the International Space Station. At the moment, that service is only provided by SpaceX. That's obviously since America gave up on the space shuttle about 10 years or so ago. So Boeing were basically kind of commissioned to produce a rival to SpaceX, and that NASA had more options.
And they didn't have to rely on a certain individual.
Yes.
who is risking his security clearances on Twitter every day.
Yes. So anyway, basically, obviously you will well know that we had the Starliner blast off on its first crewed mission in June.
And it was a crewed mission, given all the technical failures.
So anyway, the two astronauts were meant to just spend a week on the International Space Station. They ended up, they're now going to be there till February because they couldn't clear Starliner to undock from the ISS and fly back to Earth with crew. And this was due to some problems with the thrusters. Now, we don't know exactly, but the kind of reporting in the US goes that there was a disagreement between Boeing and NASA. And Boeing basically said, we are 100% confident that our spacecraft is good enough to return to the Earth and the astronauts will be 100% fine. It appeared the astronauts themselves, who were very close to Boeing and very close to those engineers and researchers on the ground, also agreed with this because they were very, very positive about we want to go home on Starliner. NASA, after spending a couple of months kind of agonising over it, decided to sort of play it safe and to send it back uncrewed. In the end, Boeing was vindicated because the spacecraft...
Not a sentence you hear a lot these days.
No, you don't. But they were utterly vindicated because the spacecraft detached from the International Space Station or de-docked? Undocked. And it was an absolute perfect textbook journey back to Earth.
You'd hate to have left your keys in there if you wanted the astronauts, wouldn't you?
But anyway, the point is that after all of this kerfuffle and all of this insane amount of bad publicity, they proved people wrong. Boeing did it. But nonetheless, the astronauts being, inverted commas, stranded on the International Space Station was arguably the biggest space story of the last 10 years. Everybody in the world was talking about it, and it made Boeing look very, very bad. Now, if there hadn't have been all the kerfuffle with what's happened with the Maxes over the last few years, I don't think this would have been such an issue, but it built up. It feels like Ted has paid the price for this, and I think that the new CEO is like, you know what, we need a fresh start. We've got our space person. It's not a good look. It's time to go. It feels very unfair.
Their defence division, I believe, has also been losing quite a bit of money. So he was in charge of space and defence, and defence has been, seeing huge losses, I think second only to the commercial airplanes division.
Yeah, it's very unfair, though, because I think what people don't realise about Boeing is it is an enormous organisation. Both, you've got the commercial aircraft division, you've got defence, you've got space, and then obviously you've then got divisions of Boeing all around the world. And all of those divisions, all of those, different factories and the people in different countries will all be completely different. So while there may be possibly kind of a rotten safety culture in their main sort of factory in Seattle, that doesn't mean that the whole company is going wrong. In fact, I would argue a lot of what the company does, most of what the company does, is world leading. But nonetheless, their reputation is down the toilet. And like Jake was saying there, even Boeing Defence, which has never had anywhere near the kind of safety problems of its commercial division, it suffers. That bad publicity, those optics, they all go together. But yeah, it feels it's another setback for Boeing.
And this is coming as well as 33,000 Boeing staff members are on strike. You've got the International Association of Machinists and Aerospace Workers at several locations, Washington State, Oregon, California, are taking industrial action. They want a 40% pay rise. 40% pay rise. They've knocked back this offer of 25%
I'd take
over
the
25%.
40%.
40% pay rise is what they want. Boeing has actually come back with what it said was its best and final pay offer, which is 30%.
That's amazing. Take that.
Plus the reinstatement of a performance bonus and improved retirement benefits. But the union has said the offer was not negotiated with us. They say it was thrown at us without any discussion. So
I take 40. I take 30%. That's pretty good.
It's a big it's a big sort of kerfuffle that Boeing's having with its workers, and they've brought in this big slate of austerity measures as well. They're cutting back on perks. They're stopping non-critical travel, hiring freeze across all levels of the company. Management and executives are not getting to fly first or business class anymore. Under these austerity measures, suspending non-essential capex and facilities spending, no more non-customer related catering at Boeing facilities. They're cutting back on their air shows, trade shows, special events. Yeah, no more free sandwiches and bickies. They're making significant reductions in supplier expenditures. Also considering temporary furloughs for many employees and managers and executives. So it's not a good time to be Boeing.
Not a good time
now
to be
in
Boeing.
general. The Boeing woes continue.
The Boeing woes continue.
Boeing ongoing.
But I see we did there.
Yeah. Boeing woeing ongoing. Maybe.
Boeing woeing ongoing. Do you reckon when Jordan cuts up stuff for the social media, for the Instagram, this is the Boeing woeing not going is going to be one of the ones he's going to highlight?
Maybe he's in here.
He's in here. Please don't, Jordan. Go on.
Yeah, so difficult times for Boeing. On the subject of space, though.
Hello, you're going to do the link, are you? Do you want to be presenter? Should we just swap? Should we just swap sides? Go on. No, you take my job. Go on. Go on, yeah. Do the link.
On the subject of space, and on the subject of SpaceX, there was a story that we haven't reported on yet for Space Connect, but it's quite funny. Yeah. Cards Against Humanity,
which is my favourite game ever.
Which I learned this week. Cards Against Humanity, the offensive adult party game. The owners of Cards Against Humanity are suing Elon Musk.
Why would they do that? Surely Elon, who's a man that likes to or inevitably offends people, surely Cards Against Humanity, that's probably his favourite game. You would imagine that the people behind Cards Against Humanity and Elon, they'd be like best buddies, BFFs.
Well, so this goes back to 2017. During the Trump administration, they bought land on the US-Mexico border. They raised money, basically, from Cards Against Humanity fans to buy some land on the border between US and Mexico in order to block the border wall. You remember that? You remember the wall?
Yeah.
That was an interesting time in the world. But so they bought this land to block the border wall, and they've held on to that land ever since. But this land is 3 miles away from the Starbase launch facility for SpaceX.
Oh, dear.
And so Cards Against Humanity is coming out and saying that SpaceX has been dumping junk on their land, basically. You know, they're putting equipment and stuff on this land that SpaceX does not own, that Cards Against Humanity owns. And basically they're suing SpaceX for $15 million, saying SpaceX, quote, has never asked for permission to use the property, much less for the egregious appropriation of the property for its own profit-making purposes. It's claimed that SpaceX contractors have entered the property, dumped huge amounts of gravel, brought in generators to run equipment and lights. And so they're now, and Cards Against Humanity now suing Elon Musk.
Surely what they should do is just say, look, Elon, just take your stuff away. Come in there, clear it up, go away and be on your way. They're obviously picking for a fight here.
This comes, by the way, as well, not long after the FAA proposed to fine SpaceX $633,009, very specific amount, for allegedly failing to follow its license requirements during 2 launches in 2023.
So obviously, as aerospace journalists, we will be taking Elon Musk's side. We'll be taking SpaceX's side. Would you now be able to just say, and you have to do this, would you be able to say, like, I wish SpaceX all the best in their legal issues with Cards Against Humanity, and I hope Elon wins? Or words to that effect.
I could say that.
You could say that. I want you to say that.
We want a lot of things in this life, Adam. That doesn't mean they're going to happen.
Right.
I want a new Ferrari.
Have you ever played Cards Against Humanity as an aside? I bet you'd be very good at that.
Humanity. I've sort of gone off Cards Against Humanity in recent years. There are other games.
There are other games,
but it gets old after a little while, I think.
No, I hear that. Right, we probably got time for one more story. What are we going to go for, Jake? Dealer's choice.
I love it. I love a good dealer's choice. How about some Sky Kittens, Adam?
Love a bit of Sky Kittens.
So this is a deep cut into Australian aviation podcast lore, well before the Dread Enoch ever showed or didn't show his mysterious face. But this is for those who are not regular followers of the show. We don't like to say aircraft noise.
No, we don't like the word noise.
No, we don't like the word noise. So instead of we came up with a more palatable face. Instead of aircraft, we say Sky Kittens, and we say the purring of the Sky Kittens. It's very lovely. It's a lovely way to talk about this thing, which has a fair bit of controversy, but. The Transport Minister, Catherine King, has basically given air services a directive at Brisbane Airport to prioritise simultaneous opposite direction parallel runway operations, or SOD props.
SOD props?
SOD props.
What absolute nonsense, SOD props.
Basically with SOD props, aircraft are able to land on one parallel runway at the same time as other aircraft take off on another parallel runway. This helps to, lower the volume of the purring and more efficiently coordinate the movements of the Sky Kittens. In Brisbane's case, it would allow the Sky Kittens to fly more over Moreton Bay, more over the water, instead of overpopulated areas. So the minister has told air services, develop procedures to increase SOD props when weather and other conditions permit, get more aircraft out over the water, away from nearby communities. Air Services has said that, yes, we'll do this. That's fine. Brisbane Airport has come out and supported this as well.
So everyone's happy?
Not everyone.
Okay.
The Brisbane Flight Path Community Alliance, and this is the community group that has been most strenuously opposed to the purring of the Sky Kittens at Brisbane Airport. They have cautiously welcomed the minister's direction, but their chair, Professor Marcus Foth said it was, quote, a watered-down version of the minister's original promise to reinstate sod props as the preferred 24/7 operation mode. So basically what he's saying is, sod props was supposed to be the preferred mode, but instead of fully reinstating it, the minister, he says, is merely asking air services to please try and extend its use, which we believe will have limited impact given operational constraints. He said recent data shows that daytime sod props operations are virtually non-existent. In August 2024, only one daytime sod props flight was recorded out of 16,000 plus total flights, with the majority of flights being routed over people's homes. This is not good enough. Brisbane deserves better. So that's what the Flight Path Community Alliance has said. But that's just a quick update on the latest Sky Kittens situation at Brisbane Airport.
Well, they can sod off because I personally like the sound of aircraft going overhead. So I think, if anything, what we should be doing is having less flights over the bay and more flights over people's homes so that people can enjoy the purring of the Sky Kittens.
This is why you're not an elected official, Adam.
If I become an elected official, would you still stay in the country?
I don't know how much of a choice I'd have.
Right, that's... have we got any more shout-outs? Anything? We're going to wrap up the show. Usually you stop me now.
Did you want to speak about the AI awards, Adam?
No.
Okay.
No, I don't. Actually, I have to because you set me up now, you little sod.
Props.
Yes, so we are having the Australian AI Awards, and you may be listening to this thinking, why are you talking about AI and not aerospace? Well, it's because we actually have an award for the best, let me find out exactly what this is. Jake, can you just say something to fill the void?
Something to fill the void.
Something to fill the void. Something to fill the void. We have one of the categories in the Australian, oh no, my computer's breaking me, Australian Aviation Awards is...
So clearly your computer's not going to be winning the AI awards.
No, I can barely use the computer. I'm not the person. Basically, we have an innovation award at the Australian AI Awards for those working in the aerospace world. Let me get... I'm absolutely hopeless with technology. Let me get this up. Aerospace. There we go. So the category is called the AI Innovator Aerospace Sector. And the finalists are... Aviation Health Group, the Centre for Future Materials, Corporate Travel Management, Deneb Space, Starbound Space Solutions, and Web Manuals. Congratulations to all these people. Anyway, the most important thing, if you want to come along to our very swishy event, it is being held on Wednesday, the 6th of November this year. You can go on our website. Again, you'll never remember what the website's called. Just put Australian AI Awards into Google. You can go on there, buy tickets, come along, network. You might meet. I'm not sure if you're going to be there. Have you not got?
No, I've got a dress rehearsal that night.
So you're not coming. Well, you can meet me anyway. So you can meet his agent.
I mean, one thing you could do is ask ChatGPT when the AI awards are. You might not get an accurate answer, but you could ask ChatGPT.
Right, have we got any more chat? You're not going to throw me under the bus again, are you?
No, I think that's about it, Adam.
All right, well, we will be back. Actually, no, I have to thank you. I didn't introduce you properly. I'll have to thank you.
That leadership book being absent has clearly done a number on you.
Right, Jake, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you, Adam.
Thank you very much for listening or watching. We will be back on this show talking more drivel, hopefully the same time next week. But for now, from me and Jake, goodbye.
Goodbye.